Chapter 9. Analysis of data. Statistical analysis, or statistics, is concerned with the development and application of methods and techniques for organizing and analyzing data, usually quantitative. Role of statistics. Generally speaking, statistical analysis may be used to accomplish four basic purposes. 1. Statistics may indicate the central point around which a mass of data revolves. 2. They may show how broad or diverse the spread can be for a mass of data. 3. Statistics may reveal how closely or distantly certain features within the mass of data are related, as well as whether a relationship exists. 4. They may indicate the degree to which the facts might have occurred by mere chance, or whether there is a probability of their having been influenced by some factor other than pure chance. In short, the basic purpose of statistical analysis is to summarize observations or data in such a manner that they provide answers to the hypothesis or search questions. Cautions in using statistics. Statistics are necessary for most research studies involving quantitative data and are particularly crucial at the sampling and analysis stages. The analysis process should be planned well in advance in order to anticipate problems that may be encountered. Once the data have been collected, there is little potential for changing them, and the researcher is at that point limited to certain statistical techniques. Next is steps involved in statistical analysis. Regardless of the specific techniques or tests employed, there are certain basic steps common to virtually all statistical analyses. The establishment of categories. In order to organize and analyze the data collected for a study, it is necessary to place them in categories. The identification or establishment of categories should take place before the data are 1. The set of categories or values i.e. the classification scheme for any one variable should be derived from a single classificatory principle. For example, if one were studying the relationship between size of the reference collection and reference performance, two sets of categories would be needed. 2. Each set of categories should be exhaustive. That is, it should be possible to place every observation in one of the categories of the set. 3. The categories within each set should be mutually exclusive. This means that it should not be possible to place a specific observation correctly in more than one category. 4. Last but not least, the development of categories should be based in a sound knowledge of the subject matter and an anticipation of likely responses. Coding the data. Once the categories have been established and data assigned to them, it is necessary to convert the new data or responses to numerical codes so that they can be tabulated or tallied. One of the most important considerations in coding is reliability. Problem-solved reliability in coding can result from inadequacies in the data. Answers to questions that actually ask more than one question are, of course, difficult, if not impossible, to code accurately. In actually coding the data, researchers traditionally have transcribed the observations or scores for each individual or case from the data collection instrument to coding or transfer sheets. Some researchers are able to take advantage of optical scanning for producing data files. However, direct data entry may now be the most common technique for creating data files. Next is analyzing the data. Descriptive statistics. Once the data are ready to be analyzed, the researcher can choose to utilize descriptive statistics, inferential statistics, or both. The standard deviation is one of the most frequently used measures of dispersion, but it is also one of the more difficult to comprehend. It reflects the amount of deviation from the mean for the observed scores. Stated differently, it is the positive square root of the variance. Its size increases whenever the size of the deviation. The calculation and analysis of bivariate frequencies is an essential step in discovering or testing relationships between variables, so an example of abivariate table will be presented and discussed. Analyzing the data. Inferential statistics. In contrast to descriptive statistics, which simply summarize and describe the data though, as indicated above, they can at least suggest relationships. Inferential statistics can perform. Using inferential statistics as first described, one could measure the loss rate for a sample of books, and then predict the loss rate for the entire population or collection based on the sample. Both of these applications of inferential statistics are based on an assumption of random sampling and on probability theory. Inferential statistics themselves are of two basic types: parametric statistics or tests, and non-parametric statistics or tests. Either type should be used only when certain conditions exist. Parametric statistics. Most important, parametric statistics require the assumption of a normal population or distribution. If the sample size falls somewhere between 50 and 100, and if there is evidence that departure from normality is not great, then statistical tests of this type can be used with some confidence. Parametric tests also assume that the variance of each group in question is similar, and that the samples are randomly drawn. In addition, they require that the data being analyzed are primarily int. Some examples of frequently used parametric tests include the following. 1. Z-test. This test, using standard scores, tests the difference between a group's results and the results that would be expected due to chance alone. 2. Student's t-test. A test that can be used in place of the z-test where there is still only one group, but where, in contrast to the z-test, the standard deviation of the population is not known. 3. Difference of means. Commonly used statistical test which utilizeth t-statistic, and which determines if the statistical difference bet the mean scores of two groups is significant. 4. Analysis of variance. A statistical test which represents an extension of the difference of means test. 5. Post hoc tests. These test the statistical significance of difference between group means. 6. Reliability coefficient. A statistic that indicates the reliability of a measurement, that is, a test, scale, etc. 7. Pearson's product. This test generally is referred to as simply the correlation coefficient. It measures the degree of linear association between two variables. 8. Regression. Type of analysis that, as is the case for correlation, can be used for descriptive and inferential purposes. Non-parametric statistics. In contrast to parametric statistics, non-parametric statistics are considered to be distribution-free. That is, they do not require the assumption of a normal population, and therefore are often. Non-parametric tests are usually, but not always, used with ordinal level data. 5 common examples are as follows. 1. Chi-square test. 2. Mann-Whitney U-test. 3. Wilcoxon sign test. 4. Spearman rank order correlation. 5. Kruskal-Wallis test. Selecting the appropriate statistical test. As has been indicated for most of the examples given above, the various statistical tests must meet certain conditions before being appropriate for use. The selection of a proper statistic can be facilitated by using some sort of decision tree to systematize the process. The same information is available in most standard statistical texts, but in a less compact, sequential format. The researcher established two groups of randomly selected students. One group of students was given BI during the course of study. One group received no instruction. Cautions in testing the hypothesis. In using statistics to test hypotheses, one must always keep in mind that statistical inferences are based on probability, and one can never rely on statistical evidence alone for a judgment. It is also important to remember that a single statistical acceptance of a hypothesis does not prove it to be true with absolute certainty. Trahan also describes a pilot study that indicated that it is feasible to integrate data from library and information science research using meta-analytic methods. Other caveats regarding the use of statistics include the fact that a statistically significant result is not necessarily socially or practically significant. Statistical analysis software. With the use of online questionnaires, the data can be transferred into statistical software programs as soon as the respondents submit the completed survey. Using a statistical software package via servers is an efficient technique for analyzing large amounts of data. Some basic statistical tools are completely available online, such as the RIS Virtual Lab in Statistics, which Bauer reviewed. In using computers for statistical analysis, one should be careful that ease of doing so does not waste the researcher's time. Analysis of non-quantified data. It is worth noting briefly at this point that not all research data are susceptible to quantification, and such data do not lend themselves to statistical analysis. The analysis of qualitative data differs from the analysis of quantitative data not only in the nature of the data, but also in the nature of the process. One of the major objectives of qualitative data analysis is the generation of concepts. As has been noted elsewhere in this text, it may be desirable to combine quantitative and qualitative methods in a single study. Summary: those are the topics being discussed in Chapter 9, which is the analysis of data. It is very crucial when doing research, and it is necessary to understand and learn this aspect of research,